Last week, I unboxed some new art supplies with you, and this week we're going to play with them and see what they're going to do. We're mainly going to explore the new R&F drawing oils, but I'm also going to share some top tips about a supply I use to make my acrylics look like oil paints. So definitely don't miss that. And if you are interested in the new R&F oil drawing sticks, you're going to want to watch last week's video because I definitely give some tips in that you will not want to miss. I've kind of spread out the tips into 2 videos. I'm loving the new R&F oil drawing sticks, and I have a lot to share with you about what all I've learned about them, some top tips, and my surprising favorite way to use them. And I'm also going to share the way that I don't like to use them. The first thing I did was just play with them. I think you should do that with any new supply. Don't worry about wasting it. You're going to waste it more if you don't know what they do. So I wanted to see, how do they layer? How do they smush together? How firm? How soft? What do the colors do when I add white? What do they do if I use something to scrape through them? What kind of marks? So I just played for quite a while. I also bought some odorless mineral spirits because I wanted to play around with that. What happens if I use a brush and wash some of that odorless mineral spirits on top? What happens if I dip my brush in the odorless mineral spirits and then, use the tip of the oil stick to get some paint? So I just played like that, which was so much fun. I tried mixing colors with them. You can definitely get some kind of watercolor effects. And I also like when you use the oil stick to just make a mark. And then when you use the odorless mineral spirit on top, if you use the brush on top of it light enough, those marks will stay, which is a really helpful, useful, and nice way to use them. I've also been using them in paintings a lot, which I love at the end, kind of towards the end of a painting, to get these extra marks and more kind of drawing look that you can get with oil pastels and that are almost impossible to do with just a brush. I've also really been enjoying taking them out with me into the landscape to paint and use them kind of, again, in that same way, those final marks. I've also played with taking them out, just those, and seeing, do I like that experience? And I'll share a little bit of that as I go along, if I liked using them that way or not. satisfying. I'll do some more of that. Okay, I wanted to show you a couple things. So I ended up using just my box where my Sennelier, however you say that, oil pastels were. I took those out because I wanted something kind of soft to protect them until they get really messy. And then I'll probably just throw them in a box. And then I'm just putting like a piece of bubble wrap and then putting the top on. I thought I would use a box that I didn't have to perfectly get everything tightly in. I just want to be able to throw them around. I am full on obsessed. They are like a mix between soft pastels and oil pastels because the things that I can do with them, I can smush them around and get the same texture that I used to do with soft pastel or oil pastel when I would rub it in. And I feel like they're way less messy, to me at least, than oil pastels. Now, that could just be because I've left the wrapper on. That's probably, actually, yeah. But even when I'm like smushing them around and stuff, there's not much stuff on my fingers. This is paint from a painting I'm working on right now. I did want to mention, I love using the baby wipes because if I put something down and don't like it, I can just use a baby wipe and wipe it right off. That's been my thing with like using oil pastels or oil sticks or these oil drawing sticks on top of my acrylic is what happens if I don't like it. I don't necessarily want to put acrylic on top of it because that doesn't make it incredibly stable for longevity, but you can just use a baby wipe and wipe it off. So if I cover the whole canvas and don't like it, if I wipe it off before it dries, it's going to be fine. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use quinacridone red and just put it right here, but it will wipe completely off, which is super nice. Yeah, very handy. Plus you can clean your hands with this. So it definitely gives some flexibility, which feels very exciting. Okay, let me show that to you again close up. So there's kind of a staining red and I can wipe it right off. I am doing this painting from a smaller painting that I've decided not to sell. I really like it, and I've been doing a bunch of my night garden scenes from inspo with this. So I'm going to be able to get a lot of this texture on here, which feels exciting. Okay, let me show you the setup I've got up going on before it gets too dark. It doesn't look very dark out right now, but it's quite dark. So I brought the drawing sticks out. I brought one tube of some white oil paint that I could find. Brought my bucket with my odorless mineral spirits. I brought several brushes to just try to figure out what I liked. I didn't have a brush holder, so I stuck them in my pocket down here, which worked pretty good. I brought a smooth panel. This was not easy, but it was fun. And I don't even know yet if I like it. It definitely is going to take some practice, like using just these. I may will bring out a few more tubes of paint to just get some better application when I need it. But it was super fun. There's my very moody view, which you can't really see because the clouds are moving in. And I'm gonna pack up and head home before it gets too dark. Okay, and this is hopefully how I'm gonna get it home safely. I've got these bungees. I mean, you know, it's probably gonna hit those bouncing around, but it's the best I can do. It was nice using this really cheap easel that I have. You know, I just had it sitting up in the back. That worked out really good, but yeah, okay, let's get home. I have a lot I want to tell you about and go over with you that I have been learning. I've been playing with these things in so many different ways. First, I want to mention, because I think it's important and I don't want to forget, is the smell. I love them. I don't feel like they smell at all. When I first take the lid off the box, sometimes I'll get like a whiff of oil, you know, paint kind of smell, but that's it. When I'm working with them, or once the initial like poof happens, I don't notice it at all. The other thing, I had an artist friend tell me for just the way she oil paints, she will cut up old t-shirts into little squares and she wipes her brush every time, and so it helps keep the odorless mineral spirits from getting too dirty and keeps her hands cleaner. So she'll like wipe the brush and then throw it away. So what I did, I really liked this idea of like the little things. In fact, I've been using them in the studio for lots of things. But what I've been doing is taking some of these, well, you can see right here, I've got a few in the box with me. So when I'm out, I'll have them, but I just do that. We'll give them a wipe to get that film off, and then I'm able to just throw that away. So that's super nice, and I thought that was a great tip that I wanted to share with you. I've kept this plastic thing here because I do think it kind of helps seal it in. In fact, I put a piece of, what did I use? Some kind of plastic on the bottom part. So that way it kind of almost is like putting them in a baggie and helps the oxidation slow down, so that way the film on the outside doesn't get too thick. Okay, I have been playing with them in my sketchbooks. I've been playing with them on paper. I've been playing with them on canvas, on board, all the things. And I do love them. There's a couple ways I don't love them as much, and some surprising ways that I think that you'll find that I've been loving them. I've played with them a little bit just by themselves, like I took them out and did this. I didn't really care for this. I didn't love this technique. So I did this one on paper. You saw me working on this one on board just with the oil sticks. This one, I just did a quick sketch just with the oil bars, and it's fine. It does give you a nice drawing sense, but even when I just used my oil pastels, I didn't like it just on their own. I like to add them with other things. I did do this one on board, and I did it fully with the oils, and I did like it a lot. That was really fun. I did use like the mineral spirits to kind of thin things out a little bit, but I mainly just smushed the paint around and drew. It was super fun, and I love how it turned out. I mean, you can see just the kind of texture. And this is already dry. I don't remember how long ago I did this, but really beautiful. Yeah, it's fun to sign your name with it too. That's fun. Yeah, so I did enjoy that. Maybe I enjoyed this a little better because I like just kept pushing it, and because you're just drawing with them, you know, I wasn't necessarily always using a brush. I think I mainly just used them. You get this nice texture. And then when the paint is transparent, you get, you know, beautiful kind of see-through color. Yeah, just nice. Really nice to be able to do things like this, draw. I mean, it's marks like this that I just love. Yeah, I think it's a nice mixture of like drawing and painting that you can combine with these. It does take some practice though. That's what I found. You just got to kind of keep at it to learn the medium. That's what you usually have to do with a new medium. Now here's what I did find was very interesting. I really enjoyed using them with my watercolor and gouache. One day I took out just my watercolor and gouache palette and the oil bars. I was going to use both of them, and I just got into it and just did this sketch. It's like I completely forgot about my oil bars. So what did I do when I came home? Did I do one? No. Oh yes, I started this one playing around with, I've got a shadow here, so just ignore that please. I really liked it because I can use the oils to do even the sketch, and then when I put the watercolor gouache on top of it, water will resist the oil. So then, yeah, I get that sketching, but this will dry, and then I can also do washes over it. So I really, really like that. Obviously, I've not finished this. So then I went over to a friend's house to sit in her garden and sketch. I took my watercolors and the oil bars, and I did this. Came back, I've been doing a bunch of sketches I wish you could see the state of my desk. It's utterly, it's in a bad place. Which is good because I've been doing a ton of, that means I've been working a lot. But I started doing a bunch of sketches like this, just, yeah, working in my sketchbook to then do some bigger paintings. I feel like I'm getting off on a tangent here. Okay, let me stay focused. But basically this was nice for colors, and I'm working on a bigger painting using this, and I was able to get nice texture and I think some depth because of that. Then I think actually this is not even then, this was before, but I wanted to show you this. In my sketchbook from other sketches and drawings that I've done on location, I did this sketch in my sketchbook using my watercolors, my gouache, and the oil bars, and I absolutely love it. I did gesso this page, but I also don't feel like I necessarily have to in my sketchbook. I'm not too worried about it, but they do say for longevity you should do that. I also did this one, which is in my large Moleskine. No, is this my Moleskine? No, this is, which sketchbook is this? My Strathmore. This was with acrylics and the oil sticks. I've been doing a whole series with this boat. And I'll show you a couple other paintings here. I think maybe, I can't remember if I mentioned those here or in the last video, but I used acrylic and my oil bars painting out on location to do these paintings. There's also a couple that I've been working on in the studio from this whole series using my acrylics and my oil sticks. So very happy. Yeah, I'm thrilled with them. I think they have a lot of uses, and you can use them with a lot of different mediums. When I use them in my sketchbooks, what I do is just throw them on the floor or on a table, lay them open like this for a little while, and they actually dry pretty quick. I've been surprised how quick they'll dry, and then I can just close them up, the end, and they're good to go.
My heart was dead, cold in my chest, a stone in my flesh. But grace has a voice that reaches the meek, it leans for the lowly. And all that I was, the scarlet and dust under the flood. The power of the curse coming undone under the blood. And I'm born again. 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 Now there is a fire.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little about the high flow paint from Golden that I unboxed in the last video because I've been playing around with it. I do like it. I think what I like most though is the applicator, if that's what it's called, but basically the little eyedropper kind of thing that's in it, because I have been using LIQUITEX airbrush medium for years now. I don't know how long, and I really like it. High flow, Golden's high flow is meant to be used not just exclusively, but they made it so people can like do airbrush stuff. So it's really thin, but still high pigmented. And it's meant to be kind of have the consistency of inks. Now you're only gonna get that kind of consistency with the transparent colors, that it'll look inky, but this will be nice and thin. Now the other thing that I've been using, this airbrush medium though, is the exact same thing. This is meant to be mixed with your paints, done in airbrush, but I will use it like water. So if I really want a transparent glaze or something to be quite transparent or thin, or want to thin my paints, I will just kind of go like that on the palette. It usually goes a little bit everywhere. It would be probably better if I did do it in, let me put my phone on silent so it doesn't mess with me. What was I saying? I used to put it in like a little thing, just a little jar or something on my table and dip my brush in it, but it would get contaminated. And often when I'm doing a glaze, I don't necessarily want that kind of contamination. So I've gotten where I just go a little splash of it on my palette. And again, more comes out than what I really need, but I don't care. So I'll just mix it in and it will thin it. And when you get a really, really thin paint like that, you want to use something like this instead of water because it will bind better and it will also give a more of a glaze. Maybe the difference from just using this to this is that this is gonna be highly pigmented, but usually when I'm wanting a glaze, I don't want it so pigmented. I do want it thinned down. So I am finding that I'm still reaching for this. I think what I'm gonna do, actually I've already put some in my basket for some other colors. There's a couple that are out of stock, but I think what I'm gonna do is buy them and yes, use them, but then when they run up, I can run out. I can make my own with this and then it can be a little thinner. And then I can have these little bitty baby bottles, you know, to take out with me and then I can do the splash. Or drop. This you can get a little more precise and do drop instead of like a splash. Anyways, okay, probably too much information, but I wanted to tell you about this. I really love LIQUITEX. I prefer LIQUITEX over Golden any day. The paint quality, whether it's the soft body or the heavy body. Why those words were not coming to my mind. I feel like the consistency of the paint for me, I like better than the Golden. Like this is a little bit softer. My brush, it will stick to my brush a little better. And then the LIQUITEX soft body is not as glossy as Golden's soft body. Golden's has much more of a sheen, which I don't really like. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of the paint. So I will take this and squirt some of this in it to make it thinner. And it's just kind of nice. There are my thoughts on that.